Hello friends, welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a buffalo check fall tumbler. I hope you guys are okay with a few fall tumblers before we get into Christmas. I promise Christmas cups are coming sooner than you think. There may be a certain number of 12 of them in a series coming very, very soon. But until then, I'm a little bit in fall mode, so we're going to get right into this glitter buffalo check tumbler. I'm going to use a true 32 tumbler for this design. So to start out, I'm going to pop off the little bottom cap. This tumbler is from the Tipsy Magnolia, and we're going to do a top and bottom split here. So on the top half where the edges are straight, right before you get to where the taper begins on the tumbler, that's going to be our buffalo check, and then the bottom half will be our orange glitter. So if you're using a different style tumbler, you might want to set up the layout of your cup differently. If you're using a skinny tumbler, you can make your buffalo check section go all the way down the cup and just have a little strip of glitter at the bottom. You could do a perfect half and half. It really just depends on the shape and style of the tumbler you choose to use, but I wanted to do this technique on a tumbler that had a taper or a curve to it to show you how to accomplish that look. But as always, everything is always easier on a straight edged tumbler. So once I've got my top section taped off, I'm going to start to build the template for my buffalo check. Now, if you wanted to, you could use a template and cut it out of removable vinyl or stencil vinyl. But I prefer, at least lately, I prefer just to build the template on my own with painter's tape. I'm also incredibly impatient. So if I set up a template to cut my checkerboard or my squares or whatever we're calling it, I do have one. If anyone's interested in it, I can post it. But when I have to set it all up and size it and wait for my machine to cut it, I just get irritated. So I'm gonna just build the template on my own with painter's tape, but know that you can always cut one out of vinyl and just apply it to your tumbler, and all of your squares are cut out and ready to go. Either way is totally fine. You will get the same result. So the end goal here is to tape off our tumbler. I'm using 1-inch wide painter's tape. We're going to tape off vertically, and then we're also going to tape off horizontally. So every other stripe, as you can see, I'm alternating. I've got a tape stripe and then an exposed one where the cup is, and I'm going to do that all the way around the cup, and I'm going to leave those that way. And then going around the cup horizontally, I'm going to do the exact same thing. So I'm going to use a piece of tape as my spacer piece so that all of our sections are 1-inch squares essentially. And once we've got our tape laid down, we're going to go through and cut all of the edges of our tape so that everything is a square and will be easily removable later, if that makes any sense. So whether you're using painter's tape or you're using a cutout template, the goal is to have all of your tape lines and tape sections be squares. Now that we've got our template applied, we can start to mix our glitters and get those ready. Now for a buffalo check, you want a dark color, a light color, and then a mix of the two colors to create your buffalo check color. So for my darker color, I'm starting out with hashtag YMBB from Peachy Olive Glitters. And then for the lighter color, I'm using a custom mix that I made forever ago. And it's just a light mix. It's got all different size cuts in it, a light blue color. And then, like I said, YMBB from Peachy Olive Glitters is my dark tone. I did end up adding Dress Blues from Peachy Olive Glitters to deepen those colors a little bit. I felt like my initial dark just wasn't dark enough, so I ended up mixing a secret ingredient third color into that, but you can obviously do whatever colors you want. You just want to make sure you've got a light, a dark, and then a mix. As with every tumbler that I do, I'm going to start with my darkest color first. So we're going to start with just our pure dark color. And it's always helpful for me to map out what I'm doing. So I'm taking a Sharpie and I'm writing what each color is going to be on each square. So starting out with the mix color, that's what M stands for, mix, not Mal, if you thought it was Mal. I'm going to write an M on every other square. So you'll see it's kind of creating a mini checkerboard pattern if you think about it. But we're going to basically each row, and this might be hard for me to explain in words, you'll just have to see it. But I'm going to do one row will be mix, color 1, mix, and then the row underneath it will start color 2, mix, color 2, mix, if that makes sense. So each row is light color mix or dark color mix, and then you alternate those, which creates the buffalo check pattern. If that made any sense, please let me know in the comments, because I feel like it does in my head, but maybe not in the words that I'm saying out loud. Anyway, so like I said, we're going to start with the darkest color first. So I'm going to go in with my dark blue acrylic paint, and I'm going to base coat each of these squares first, just to make sure we get a really nice coverage with our paint initially. And then we'll go in, I'm going to use Mod Podge as my adhesive. I always like to use Mod Podge when I'm doing checkerboards or plaids or geodes or anything where I'm going to do a lot of glitter next to each other in a short amount of time, because Mod Podge dries super fast, so you can move between your glitter colors really quickly and not risk like messing up a wet section. So I always like Mod Podge because I can just work through it really quickly and I don't have to wait a long time for the different sections to dry before moving on. So I let my paint dry for about 15 to 20 minutes, and now I'm going in with just my plain Mod Podge to adhere my glitter. And I'm going to use that mixture of dark that we created that's got Dress Blues and hashtag YMBB in it. And then I'm going to let that sit and dry for maybe just a couple minutes. We don't have to wait too long. Like I just said, it dries really, really fast. The one thing you want to be sure of though is that you are pretty urgent in peeling off the tape that borders your glitter section, because you don't want the Mod Podge and glitter and all of that stuff to dry over your tape, and then you risk ruining or like peeling something up that you don't want to peel up when you go in to remove that tape. So we want to be very cautious of our timing and work with a sense of urgency when we're doing this, because we've already put a ton of time and effort into this design, and we would hate to ruin it with a like silly mistake like that, like just waiting too long to do something. So peel up your tape fast. So as you saw there, I removed all of our tape squares that had a letter M on them because the next darkest color in our sequence is our mix. So I'm going to move into doing all of those squares next. And in this layer, I'm going to just mix my paint and my Mod Podge together at once. I'm not going to risk base painting and also going over with Mod Podge because we've removed so much of our tape. We don't have that protection with all four edges of our squares, like lining everything with our paint, so we have to be careful, and I didn't want to do that twice. So I mixed my paint and my glue together, and now I'm going in, as you can see, very carefully. I don't want to get any paint or glue on my existing glitter sections, so I'm going slowly and carefully, making sure I paint as accurately as I can. And then once I've got those painted, I'm going to go in with that glitter mixture that we made with our darker color and our lighter color, and this is the official buffalo check color, if you want to call it something. Your buffalo check color. So after that, I went right in and repeated all of those exact same steps with my lightest glitter color. So this is what the cup looks like now. And I'm going to remove this tape right away and then let my cup sit for about an hour. And then you'll be ready to go in and do the other part of your glittering. I actually ended up waiting about a day to work on this, but you'll want to wait at least an hour to ensure that your glue is completely dry. Now, before moving into taping off this top glitter section to work on the bottom, I did spray seal it with 2 coats of clear gloss spray from Rust-Oleum, just to let them hold a little bit while we're taping everything off and working on this bottom section. And then we'll go through and fully seal everything a little bit more thoroughly before we apply any epoxy. For the bottom of this tumbler, I'm going to do an orange tone to kind of contrast but also still coordinate with our blues. And I'm going to use another custom mix that I created. This is an orange custom mix with a bunch of colors in it. I like to make these like mega mixes with just glitters that I have, whether like if I've got a tiny bit of one color left, or if there's a color that's been discontinued. I try not to use those because when I use them in videos, people are always like, well, where can I get that? And I'm like, well, you can't. So I always try to recommend things that you can actually get online now. So if anything gets discontinued, it goes in a color coordinated dump bucket, and that's what you're seeing here. This is my orange dump bucket glitter. So anyway, you can use any colors you want, obviously, for any part of this. But I'm using blue and orange because I think they go well together, but they also are a really nice contrast with each other. Once my base paint is dry, I'm going to use the epoxy method for the bottom portion of our cup to apply this glitter. The adhesive you use does not matter. I just had already had some epoxy mixed up from some cups I was working on, so I decided to just use the rest to apply this glitter. If you want to stick with the same adhesive the whole way through, you can, or change it up like I'm doing. It really does not matter. So I'm going to apply a very thin layer of epoxy, as you can see here, and then I'm going to go in with my glitter all over the bottom. I'm really only paying attention to, like, on the very bottom of the cup, just that outer rim, because we're going to fill in that well from the cap on the bottom that we took off. We're going to fill that in with glitter later, so we really just want to glitter that outer edge of the very bottom of our tumbler. Once that was dry, like I said, I went through and I sealed each individual square in our buffalo check, as well as that bottom section. I sealed that with my Crystalac glitter glue and water mixture. And now I'm going to add 2 coats of epoxy to my tumbler. Each coat is about 30 milliliters, and I'm using Flynn Sisters Supply Shop Artist Cure Epoxy. This is regular setting epoxy, not a fast set. So I'm waiting like 6 to 12 hours in between coats. I just put the coat on before I went to bed, and then the next day added my other coat, if that gives you any idea of how long to wait in between coats. So once I've got my 2 coats on my cup, my epoxy has done a great job of really smoothing out everything. So I don't need to do a ton of work here. I am going to sand the top portion of the tumbler really, really well, because we're going to put our decal on the cup and do all of our vinyl work now. If you need to do 3 coats of epoxy, go for it. You can do 2 coats of epoxy over your glitter, sand anything down, and then if you're still not getting super smooth, or if you're like me and you just don't like sanding, you can sand down a little bit, get rid of all those pokey bits, and then do another coat of epoxy to really smooth everything out before you put your decal on. I also sanded down this top rim of our tumbler really well. You can see that super tiny little stainless steel line up at the top of the cup. That's where the epoxy is going to form that final seal. It's going to adhere directly to the cup over our design and just protect the rest of the design essentially. So you always want to create that super tiny little line of stainless when you're doing your sanding. So here I'm adding my vinyl decal. You can see I've added a stripe of textured metallic vinyl to the middle of the cup where our 2 colors meet. And for that, I'm using copper or rose gold, whatever you want to call it, textured metallic vinyl from TECKWRAP Craft. And I'm going to use that for the top layer of my decal as well. It kind of matches some of the tones in our orange glitter. And then for the offset that I'm applying now, I'm just using plain regular or Cal 651 navy blue vinyl. And this decal is one that I hand lettered. So if you're interested in the file, let me know. A lot of people have asked me, like when I've posted this on Reels or on Facebook or whatever, people are like, what does that last word say? And I'm like, to me, it says cozy immediately. Like what else could it say? Z's are really hard to hand letter. So I had a really hard time with that Z. And then when people were asking me, what does that say? I was like, what do you cozy? Like it looks like a Z to me. I don't know. So don't comment and tell me what you thought it says, or if you thought anything. I don't know. I think it says cozy. That's what it says. The end. It says in the pursuit of all things cozy. Okay. Anyway, sorry. I'm a little bitter about that because I worked so hard on this decal and then people like can't read it. So anyway, moving on. For the very bottom of our tumbler, we're going to take the mix color, so the color that we created when we put our light blue and our dark blue together. That would be our mix. Mal, good job. And I'm going to mix that, again, mix with UV resin, and I'm going to fill my entire bottom well of my cup with this mix. So first I did a layer just in this inside well, and I'm going to cure that under my UV lamp first, just to make sure that I don't have too thick of a layer of UV resin that it's not able to cure. So I'm going to cure that in one little step, and then I'm going to fill the rest in with that exact same glitter and UV resin mixture. Once that is cured, I'm going to add my final 2 coats of regular epoxy to the tumbler. I'm still using Flynn Sisters Supply Shop Artist Cure Epoxy here, and each of these coats is thinner than the first 2 coats. These coats are about maybe 20 to 25 milliliters. And I'm waiting the same amount of time in between coats, so like 6 to 12 hours-ish. And once those 2 coats are fully cured, your cup is all done. So this is the final tumbler design. I love how this turned out. I love a buffalo check, and I especially love a buffalo check when it's done in glitter. I love these 2 colors together. This is totally fall mode. And I had to get a little moment of fall in before we go full-fledged Christmas on this channel. I promise it is coming so soon. You guys will see Christmas videos ASAP. So I hope you're excited for that. Let me know your thoughts on this design in the comments, and I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, hit the thumbs up button down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are not already, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Okay, love you. Bye. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. I want to say a huge thank you to my channel subscribers, channel members, and a special thank you and shout out to my elite fam over on Patreon. You all make this channel possible, and I am so thankful for you. If you want to get in on the elite experience and get a little bit of extra content from me, you can join at patreon.com/elitefam. All right, here's another video for you to check out. I'll see you there. Love you. Bye.